what do you want to say to the vlog?
See your vlog.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing that you had the chance to meet me today.
Yes.
I hope it will
Enjoy
help you grow.
In the sense of like, it wasn't too hard a pill to swallow for like general consumers, not fashion consumers, general consumers. But I don't see how they can replicate that again if Pharrell leaves the house for whatever reason.
Well, Pharrell will leave the house, and they will have to move on. And Pharrell is not bigger than LV. It's as simple as that. No one can be bigger than the house.
Well, no one's bigger than the house. I'm not saying that. I'm
no,
just saying
but that's what I'm saying. Like, as a business, you can't even fathom the thought of the creative director being bigger than the house.
Oh well, of course, but actually, it depends on the house. But at LV, no person is bigger than the brand. Yeah. I'm just saying, I don't think this route that they're going down is sustainable.
I just don't believe it's a route in terms of the way that Pharrell's hyphenate is the reason why.
Not really his hyphenate, his star power.
Like,
his star power. That's a better word to use. His
star
power combined with actual experience in consumerism.
And I wouldn't downplay his star power, but in terms of the person and their ability to sell and market a product, it's still kind of regular. Like, it's in the millions, it's not in the billions. Pharrell hasn't generated anyone billions. He's got a perfume line, he doesn't generate billions from it.
Well, we'll see.
He's got a skincare
line.
No, it's not we'll see. It's today.
No, I agree with what you're saying, but I'm saying we'll see as in 1 year's time when the revenue comes out, if he's been able to keep the numbers up.
But to be fair, quick question though.
It will be up because it's LV.
I hear what you're saying.
That's what I was gonna say. Can we credit him?
No, you can't.
If like LV starts making billions when the system is already in place to sell trunks
I
and
wouldn't
to sell.
credit him, but if it doesn't go down, I will say that he completed his job.
There's a good percent.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying, if it goes up, it's just because of him. I'm saying, if it doesn't go down, it means they were successful in transitioning over to him.
There was a good percentage of the show that was dedicated to just looking at the trunks.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? So we're talking about productizing and marketing a certain brand, right? And if you do that well, and if you introduce yourself well, then you can continue. If he wants to expand into storytelling arcs that Virgil kind of is synonymous for in a way with his LV shows, then cool. If he wants to continue on going down this path of the type of consumer he wants to curate for, then great. But I just understand that Pharrell is detailing for an older market, a slightly older market, and a market that's higher than Virgil's. So it's kind of one of those things where.
What do you mean by higher?
As in
richer?
they're just more aged and it's a little bit broader.
Okay.
So anyway, so Virgil's iconography was around the youth culture and everything like that. Pharrell's one, for lack of a better term, is more sophisticated than that. So. Quick
question: did Jay-Z ever go to a Virgil Abloh show?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Pharrell's clientele is slightly.
Beyonce's ever been to a Louis Vuitton show.
So Pharrell's clientele is slightly higher.
That's what I'm saying. The same thing.
Yeah. So and this is the thing. That is what he's bringing to the table. I don't necessarily think he's bringing his hyphenates. Leave your hyphenates at the door and be.
But my point
director.
being that after him, well, what do you do now? That's what I think. I'm just
off the top of my head, I can just say Tyler the Creole. He's
that's a bad take.
No,
that's not.
I
think he's really going.
That's not a bad take. Okay. See, I don't even want to say it.
No, you can say it.
Tyler the Creator makes more money from those products that he creates than Pharrell does.
I think you have.
And Tyler the Creator. No, wait. Our perfume, makeup, all of these things.
I know exactly what you're trying to say.
Gross. If we're talking about someone who can create product and put it globally and has a global brand in 5 years, Italian career continues on this trajectory, he can be just as big as Jack Moose as an independent. Like, he wouldn't need, like, the only thing that I would think is that he wouldn't need LV for anything. That's the only way that, like, I can actually.
I don't think quite as big as Jack Moose, but I understand what you're saying, and I agree.
He can
but I think the difference is,
if he even wants to grow
it's about like
big, to be fair.
It's about like the brand plus the creative that they put in place, not just like the power of the creative alone. So like in Tyler's case, yeah, he has all these products. He does perfume. He does nail polish. He makes really nice clothes with Lafleur. Then he makes diffusion clothes with Golf Mag. Blah 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 blah. But like his global status, in when we take it in account of like what they're doing at the moment, his global status doesn't even like, it's not even a fraction of Pharrell. His demographic is like, it's not though.
Hey, Micah, tell me about this needle jacket. I can't lie, I really like it. It's really nice. This camel pearl. I see you. I see you. Okay, I see you.
It's because I feel like certain men on YouTube don't realise that you're not a serious guy. You're almost as unserious as me. So when I'm hearing you say this, I'm like, how am I supposed to take you seriously?
Do you know what's funny? I think a lot of people think I'm like a really serious person. Like, you know that live stream you did with the Pharrell thing? Someone commented and they were like, this guy was like laughing at Pharrell's collection and being obnoxious. And I'm like, no, we just make fun of everything. Like, I literally make fun of myself. We literally clown each other. So some people just, either maybe they take fashion too seriously, so anytime you even joke about it, they just think you're making fun of the designer, or some people are just so miserable that when they see someone laughing, they just assume the worst. But yeah, I do think that people's perception of me as a person is like, I must be some like serious guy who, I think it's because of the way I create content. I don't really make jokes in my content because I only know how to be funny in person. I don't know how to be funny
I know what you
to
mean.
a camera. It's weird. Like some people are good at like cracking jokes. I will just feel like it's awkward as fuck when I'm cracking a joke to a camera. It's just odd.
No, I know what you mean.
But if I'm like in front of a person, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. But nah, to answer your question then, it's Needles collab with this Japanese brand called the Purple Thing.
Yeah.
So like, this purple was like a colour they use a lot and stuff and blah blah blah. But yeah, it's like they released like a whole collection of like maybe 8 pieces together. So when I spotted it, because I haven't bought from Needles in like 5 years. You know,
when I saw it, I was like, oh shit, that's Needle. Like I even forgot they stopped selling. I forgot they still sell things.
So like, I hadn't bought from Needles in 5 years, and I saw it on a whim, and I was like, I went to the store the same day because the store's 2 minutes from my uni. There's a Panthe store. So I went there the same day, tried it on. Yeah, I just bought it. The price is peak though in the UK because we import it from Japan. The markup they add for that, oh my gosh, ridiculous. It was almost twice as expensive.
Wow.
Twice as expensive.
Can't you like buy it, get someone to buy it for you from Bai?
But because it's a limited capsule.
Right.
By the time I'd patterned that, I imagine it would have been sold out in Japan. Because I would have done, that's what I did with my first tracksuit that I have. The full set cost me like £315, which in the UK it's normally 500 or 600. But I got my friend to just go to Japan and buy it. But yeah, with this, especially because the purple thing's quite small, I think. So I really don't think they made many pieces. Like, obviously it was imported, but in the London store they had one of every size. So the top and the bottom I have. After that size was sold out. Like, 'cause they literally only had 4 of them.
Damn, son.
But yeah, it was cool. Cool piece.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, so I'm now in Paris. This is how I know I'm a terrible vlogger, because I forgot to vlog the first 2 days. But just kind of like a recap of what I've done. I wrote for Vogue Runway, so I did 2 articles for Vogue Runway. So I covered the Fumito Ganryu show, and I also covered Walter van Beirendonck. For those of you that don't know Fumito Ganryu used to work under Gino Watanabe under the Comme des Garçons umbrella, and then of course eventually went on to found Fumito Ganryu. I interviewed Fumito, who was talking about this collection being about tech wear, because he's always felt like tech wear is so technical, there aren't a lot of design elements. So while there's practicality sort of factored into the design, there are also just some things that are done to improve like the shape of things. So there was this really cool jacket that Fumito designed where he was essentially saying that he doesn't like hoods on technical jackets because it makes the jacket sit weirdly on the body. So he decided to go for technical jackets without hoods, and he has this like drop shoulder design so it sits on a body right. I didn't actually get any videos of the clothing sitting on the body, but if you guys see it or try to see the press releases, it looks really good. The title of Walter van Beirendonck's show was Dalitu, which is actually a reference to a land that is, there's sort of these conspiracy theories around it. There was apparently an area in the jungles of Sumatra, and there was this British explorer called Isaac Middleton who supposedly explored this area in the 1800s and seemingly has disappeared. Like, no one knows where this guy is. No one knows, like, where he went, what happened to him. So there are loads of conspiracies about it. And this sort of story opened up a world, a dystopian world, and ideas of what the future would look like. It reminded me of an episode of Black Mirror where Walter van Beirendonck was, coming to grips with what would the future look like when us as humans are worrying about AI and AI eventually outsmart us and we have to live side by side with like AI. And so it's really about reimagining a future world and the characters that would exist when AI and humans are living simultaneously in society. It's so interesting. Kind of like all the issues that can come up with that. So Walter van Beirendonck, when I interviewed him, he was talking about like the colors that he used. For example, when you think of colors like red, you think of danger, and that is also to represent all the bad things that are going on in the world. Also think of like yellow. When you think of yellow, you think of like dystopian, you think of radioactivity. When you think of white, you think of like lab coats. So he used all these colors that are associated as hazardous. And when you read the show notes, he made a direct mention to one of the big inspirations in the collection. So I'll read it, but it says, "Where are the machines taking us? The world around us is transforming at breakneck speed, and it feels like we are being used as crash test dummies." And it's quite interesting because there were looks that literally looked exactly like crash test dummies, and a lot of the logos were the sort of logos that you see on crash test dummies, even down to like the colors. And this was something that was embroidered on top of a lot of the pieces and also in print. Very, very interesting collection. I really loved the tailoring. There were more classic suits, and then there were these suits that had these really exaggerated shoulders. And Walter van Beirendonck said that he was inspired by American football, because when you think of American football, the shoulder pads are meant for protection, and kind of like reimagining in an AI world where you have like a suit and you have these like big shoulders that protects you from the AI, and everyone's wearing those that's like the new tailoring. It's just so interesting. Like the way Walter van Beirendonck's mind works always interests me. I might not like every single thing he does, but I really enjoyed this collection. And I think it's always better when you get to see the clothing close by and firsthand, because I got to go backstage after the show, really interact with the clothes and feel everything and look at the finishing and, see how he's made things and ask him about these things. So yeah, really, really nice and interesting experience. But today should be fun because I'm covering Yohji Yamamoto for Vogue Runway, and I've never seen him in person, so that should be cool. And I was also invited to the Miri show, which I'm going to now. So, see you in a bit. If I...
Come sit on number 40.
You guys just saw the Miri show. The most annoying thing about the Miri show is it was like 1 hour late, And the show after that was Yohji, and I'm covering that for Vogue. So I actually can't be late for the Yohji show, and I've got 20 minutes to get there. So it's like impossible, but we'll see. Like, it's honestly the most annoying thing. Like, even the Miri show was actually quite decent. It wasn't bad, but if you know the show is going to be an hour late, tell people, because then I wouldn't have gone because I need to be at the Yohji show anyway. So yeah, a bit frustrating. The Yohji Yamamoto show, I'm still on a high that I got to meet Yohji Yamamoto and I got to interview him and I got to review this show for Vogue Runway, because to be honest, Yohji Yamamoto is the reason I got into fashion in the first place. I was like a Y3 stan because I couldn't afford the main line when I was younger. Still can't afford it, to be honest. But I have ways of like buying pieces here and there. And I really wish, because there's no footage of me, you know, interviewing Yohji in this vlog. So next Paris Fashion Week, if any of you are like good with filming, definitely send me a DM, because I want someone to help me go around Paris Fashion Week next time so I can get that sort of footage and I don't miss that sort of stuff. But to talk about the collection was very interesting. Yohji pulled ideas from many different places, and when I interviewed him, he definitely had a lot to say about different things. This collection was definitely more colorful than you would associate with Yohji. I think in the past couple of seasons, it's gone a bit more colorful. I don't know if that is more of a commercial thing or if that is actually just the direction that Yohji wants to go in. But he said that the reason why there were things like a lot of reds in this collection is because he was thinking of the color red representing blood, and that blood is supposed to represent all the bad things going on in the world. There's COVID, there's wars, all these sort of things. And it's quite interesting because Walter van Beirendonck kind of used red to, you know, signify danger and bad things happening in the world as well. So even though their reference points were coming from such different places, it's really interesting that they both ended up at that conclusion. Yohji also said, because a lot of pieces were like black and white, and a lot of them contrasted black and white in the same look. And when I asked Yohji about it, Yohji said that there was a Bob Dylan concert that him and his daughter were supposed to go to, but he had back pain, so his daughter ended up going by herself. And in that concert, there was essentially, everywhere was dark, and then there was just a light in the middle of the stage. And when he remembered this concert, he said he got the inspiration to play around with lightness and darkness with his clothing. So just contrasting light colors with dark colors in the same looks. And that's why you have, you know, the darks and the lights. And then also, I was wondering why it was so print heavy. And his answer to this was he was reading a lot of mid-century architecture and homeware books. And he was really inspired by the shapes and patterns that he saw. So he wanted to sort of take those ideas and sort of make those ideas more contemporary, which is really interesting. There's so many more things Yohji said, I could go on, but yeah, you get the point. His ideas are really coming from so many different places. I talked to a lot of Yohji stans after the show who were not big fans, maybe because it was so colorful. The only part of the show I'd say I personally didn't like was Yohji's face was printed on a lot of the pieces, which seems ultra commercial, and that just seems like a business move more so than Yohji Yamamoto's design language. So yeah, all really interesting. Let me know what you think about the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Oh,
So luckily, I did actually eventually make it to the Yohji show because the Yohji show ran kind of like 15 to 20 minutes late. So I'm quite happy about that because I was so stressed after that Amiri show was delayed by like almost an hour. And I thought I wouldn't make it to the Yohji show, which would have been a disaster because I'm covering Yohji for Vogue. So that was kind of more important than the Amiri show, which I was just going to support the brand. So everything worked out. I got to interview Yohji himself about the collection. And you guys, by the time you're watching this, you can read my Vogue Runway review, so definitely check it out. But I'll put it on the screen anyway.
Loads of the food, guys, by the way. Look at the food. Hey.
That's
He was funny rapping. What's that song that you were rapping?
Pardon?
What's that song you were rapping earlier on?
Oh, in a minute, my
In a
baby.
minute.
Yeah.
I was like, yo!
Yeah, I'll be in a loop.
Music video coming out soon. Let me use a vision.
Oh no, man.
That'd be sick.
That's funny, fam. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying, I get my editing skills to a 10. I'll shake
Angles
off.
on point.
Trust me. Get the rust off.
Hello.
Hello.
The one thing that I want to do is like make sure my hand is stable.
That's why I didn't think to bring you with me to help me vlog, because I was like, she's busy now.
No, not really.
She's working.
After the rickshaw, I was free.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I said to you. I'm only doing street stuff.
Oh.
I don't have plugs in Paris like that. You know what I mean? Oh shit. Okay. Big moment right now. I'm checking his ring. Shit. Don't know if it's on the recording. This is the moment in his life.
Literally.
But he recorded it.
What's happening?
What's going on? Yes, so. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I got it first.
That's cool. That's good.
I got it first. I'm actually so happy.
That's good.
Because I knew mathematically I couldn't get less than a 2-1, but I really wanted it first. And I'm so happy I got it first.
Well done.
I'm gassed.
Get reset.
I'm gassed.
Oh,
Now I have to tell my mum. My mum's going to be happy.
tell your mum now, man.
Say, Ayo, I'm proud of you. You went to school, you got a first class. You know, you're doing very well.
That's fire still.
Oh.
I was just scrolling down to see the grade. I was so stressed. I was like, yo, I need that A.
This is why you work in the Vogue. Literally. And bigger things.
Even like what my lecturer that said, your French pronunciation has been impressive and you worked hard to build new skills and deliver a fresh contribution to the fashion journalism scene. I look forward to seeing more films from you in the future.
That's so cute. Was she a dancer?
Yeah. Well, I'm so gassed.
What a day.
Right, we're having drinks now. Come on.
I am
Come
so
on, we're having a drink.
gassed.
Let's get a drink.
Of orange juice.
Of wine, man. Come on, let's get a glass of wine. Harry's, come on.
Yeah, well
Yeah,
done.
we go
Thank
back.
you.
Thank you.
Messy.
Messi for cookies.
Alright, so it's a caliber there.
Wait, I got on the video.
Oh shit. Let's get drinks then, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yesterday, I'm really happy I was able to make it to the Yohji show. That was a crazy experience, like being able to meet Yohji in person and interview him for my Vogue Runway review. So that was like definitely the highlight of my trip so far. And I want to say a big thank you to Luke Leach, because he's the reason why I could write for Vogue Runway in the first place. So yeah, it's a new day. Right now I'm heading to the showroom for a brand, Leon Emanuel Blanck. So that should be an exciting experience. It's a brand that I've been following for a while, and it makes some like really cool avant-garde designs. Just navigating my way through the metro station. One question for people that live in France: why are your metro stations like mazes? Like sometimes it feels like I'm walking through endless corridors just to get to like an exit. It's just funny, it's interesting.
Drink something? coffee?
Some water, please.
Just take what you want here. Also leave your bags where you want. Or like next to us, it's full construction work outside.
They're French. They're gonna stop in 1 hour and never start again. Cause First of all, thanks for coming.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, I'm a bit marooned right now, but I don't know how much you know about Lego. I mean, it's been there for 10 years.
Yeah, I don't know about like the philosophy of the brand. I was just telling Philip that I know friends that own pieces, so they own like boots and stuff. So I'm aware of like the aesthetic,
Yes.
but not necessarily like the ideas behind the collections and stuff. Right.
Okay, so this is disastrous.
Oh yeah, that's
Perfect.
perfect for audio.
Yeah, so
We do what we can here.
I was just reading about your brand and it said you were inspired by a surrealist and an industrial designer. Like, is that like the formal foundation, like surrealism and industrial design, like bringing to life like sort of inorganic matter and organic matter and make it look as well?
I would say, well, if we're talking designers in general, my biggest thing always with designers is if they have a serious handwriting. If they've got something that you've seen, that's that.
Yeah.
You don't need something to put on it. If you're looking for, let's say, Zaha Hadid or Kolani, or some of these guys, and you or girls in that matter, you would be like, all right, I don't even have to look for a name. You know that's that.
Right.
That was always when I started designing anything. Was always my main focus was like, right, I need to have some sort of language that is identified as that.
Yeah.
Something that I need to put whatever on. And for me, it's this grown aesthetic of one comes to the next, comes to the following, meaning muscle growth, growth of a tree, growth of a leaf. And if you're looking through my clothing, you would see this, obviously. No one would make anything that looks like this.
Yeah.
Because it's quite specific in this terms of pattern making and construction. Whereas form, I mean, it's quite close to the human body, human anatomy when I'm working with clothing. But then let's say if I'm making a piece of furniture or anything else, I've got a wider range of product to get inspiration from, because it's not just the human body which I'm designing for, right? So for me, it's always this conversation between who am I designing for, the material I'm designing for, and the conversation these personas would have.
Right.
And I would add them together, and therefore add their value in movement and form through that conversation.
Yeah. Is there a reason why you use a lot of like leather?
I would say, yeah, it's one of the most, let's say, natural resources we have to make clothing that stays the longest.
Right.
So, I mean, you all know that if you're digging up armors from the Roman Empire,
Yeah.
you still have that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's not something that will decay very fast or whatever. It's a thing that stays. And I feel like my philosophy is anyway based on longevity. Is that a word?
Yeah, it's longevity, don't worry, it definitely is a word.
And it's something that, so you would see something, not only leather pieces that I would show in the first season 10 years ago in Paris, and still have exactly the same pattern, the same technique, the same style, still in the collection now.
Yeah.
So it's not about this thing where 6 months later it's shit and you throw it away. I always look at things more like a car, like the 5 Series BMW. It's been introduced in the, let's say, 60s or whatever. I don't know so much about cars.
And they just change something slightly over,
Work with it and like slide it in within your new idea of that, but it's not garbage later. So
I kind of love that. That's a really good idea, because there are a lot of brands where you buy something and then you're like, oh, this is really interesting. This is like my favorite leather jacket. And then 10 years later, there's nowhere to buy it again. There's no way to buy it.
On stock, just directly.
Which has also a nice feature to it, right?
Yeah.
Something only being available at this
point in time.
Right, but I mean, you would never get exactly the same leather that I had offered for Ganryu 10 years ago that you would get now. Even that color's not available, the leather's not available. Anyway, the style of form is available. And the thought behind it is still available.
Yeah.
Which means the original thought wasn't garbage. So it's this way of working with something that's worthwhile producing further than just one season.
Yeah.
So in the end, I don't really work with seasons that much. It's just we show every 6 months, but it's an ongoing intellectual property that's just been
progressing over time.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what the
I think
collection is.
like a universe, and then we add styles.
Yeah.
Also, let's say if it's not we don't feel good with the style anymore, we either change it,
Right.
take it out, or like do a new style. I think this is like I said to you as well. Like I think when you here this is your comment. No, but like if you come into fashion, like I said to him, like normally you think fuck every designer has to do a new a new collection every 6 months, and then you realize fuck like capacity, resource and stuff, and like also the product itself is maybe too good to just take it out again after 6 months.
Yeah, I saw that you detailed your namesake as a constantly evolving project, right? And dealing within, like, as we can see, like you're dealing with leathers and all of these other things, and the nature of the 3D printed materials as well.
Yes.
So, are you going on in terms of fabrication and like trying to evolve into different types of material engineering that you could create with your designs?
That's a very good question because with, let's say, future and its possibilities, it's changing the game so fast and so interesting for me. Where I would say, maybe don't quote me on this, but I would say like 6-8 years ago, this rapid 3D prototyping wasn't possible.
Right.
At least in my sphere.
It wasn't. It wasn't
And,
big scale.
exactly,
It had to be at
exactly.
like Adidas, Puma,
Yeah.
Nike,
Exactly. So whether you would do a ring or you would do a closure or a sole or anything else had to be hand carved, which has its benefits. It has its benefits. We're working with a shoemaker. The guy is 72 years old. Every single sneaker is hand carved by the guy.
Right.
It's not a mass production where you have the sole.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
right? It's just not that price point. It's not that style. It's not that attitude. And that has the positivity of each, let's say, small label being able to create something that is very unique, and the negativity of, you'd say, serious handmade things maybe falling off at one point.
Yeah.
It's a small barrier, and I don't know how to properly answer that, but I would say new materials and all these things are something to discover, and I feel like we're not doing it enough.
Yeah.
I feel like people are not doing it enough because they're still used to and stuck to these things that would give a lot of waste, a lot of this, a lot of that. But 3D printing is the best example of no waste.
No waste, exactly.
It's almost no waste. You have like little cutoffs, and there you got it.
Yeah.
It's just
Filings and shavings.
and it's still for me, it's like unimaginable. I'm like making something like scrolls. Look, there's my sunglasses.
Yeah. The craziest thing, Philip was telling me about those sunglasses that will be like a glass lens.
Yes.
I had no idea that 3D printing had like progressed to the point where you could print like glass materials and things
absolutely.
like that.
We're not to the full, let's say, point where we could have a serious lens that is much like yours or an optical lens, but we're very close to that already. So prototypes in this material can already be done where you would like almost feel like that's an actual pair of sunglasses or sage. We're getting there. I would say maybe next year. We got prototypes.
Oh wow!
already. Yeah,
that's quick.
Yeah. It's rapidly going, and I find this immensely interesting, especially with like 3D printed sneakers and so on. So it's.
What other materials have you seen that are progressing really quickly in terms of 3D printing?
Well, this is, let's say, a hard one to answer because I'm not a 3D printing expert.
Yeah.
But, ourselves, we use titanium for 3D printing, which for me was completely new, right? Then, I mean, we're using
expensive as well.
exactly, and okay, now we're making titanium glasses and the 3D printing. You have it's a weird thought, right? It's all this big scale production kind of you can make in your living room theoretically, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. You have the difference. The main difference is the following: we got let's put away what the material would be. The difference is the price point. So, the particular normal style producing company would have a very big price point to start with because you need a mold, an aluminum mold to make multiple things of whatever you're making, maybe a sole or whatever you're making. Right, and then in the end, the price point of that sole, you're making 50,000 of it is zero.
Yeah.
It's like 5 cents. But and with 3D printing, you have a very high price point to begin with in comparison, but you don't need to have 500. You can have one, which is in our case, yes, the price point is quite high anyhow. Not valid in this way. And but for materials, it's an interesting one. We have got so many things. I mean, until this season, I wasn't even sure of like how you can make sneakers from it, and like it's a serious shoe.
So would you say you're constantly evolving with materials as well, and it's like giving you new ideas to think of what you can create with different materials that possibly isn't even there yet?
Absolutely, and I might show you the actual.
Also, like I just like a little because we're thinking about like we thought about hang tags, for example, as well.
Yeah.
Like now we have like we did 3D printed hang tags, for example, and these we like one of our guys from the team is very interested in this and found out like there's like 1 or 2 companies I think in Germany or in Europe that can do this out of paper. So like it's paper. It's a 3D printed paper, like 90% paper and like maybe 1% something that sticks together. And you have like it's actually like a very hard form, but it's paper. So like it's super interesting. Like this is now
of course to you, but we're getting there. And we're trying out these products. But then again, if you move back to 3D printing, right? So normally, if you're thinking about 3D printing, you would expect something that's quite organic and like your own, because you can make all the forms and whatnot. Like, all right, good. If you look at my jewelry, all of this is done in 3D methods and whatnot. And then I thought, fuck that. Let's go back to polygon. Let's act like we're in the 90s, where you have too many pixels and like your Tomb Raider characters just and that's why this is the new thing. It's a nostalgic future, you would say.
I was asking that, like, this sort of distress thing, do you add it after, or is that kind of part of the 3D?
This is part of the printing. So in this particular case, this is a fold, right? But it's interesting to ask it. If you think about a regular material like leather, you would say that a scar, or whatever it is a natural behavior.
Process.
And this is actually a natural product of the printing, because it's printed in a certain, like, you must imagine, normally you would think this is printed like that, or whatever it's but this one is probably printed in a way where it's like this.
Right.
So it's coming, growing like that, and that is where you cut off the excess material.
Right.
That's why it looks like this.
So this is I think one of our first like this is kind of the version 101 and this 102 or something, and this is like it just came out like this, like from the printer, and like we thought it's super interesting. And like it's still like I feel like it got something to, like it looks a bit like I feel like
it has like character to it.
That aren't there, you know.
It's growing.
I thought it was
so like at one point it stopped growing or whatever the problem is. But
so it's like this is I think the things that are like it's cool to work with, you know.
Yeah.
Like, not this like we want to get every single
clean
edge
and
perfectly
you know,
clean.
one could argue, let's say, intellectual zero line with flat lines. And clean surfaces. Clean surfaces and mind, you can actually combine it to the zero. You need a clean surface at all times. What's wrong with you, man? You need a clean surface. Calm down, but you need a rough surface at once to let's say throw up the dust, because otherwise everything gets boring. If you think about a river that keeps on flowing, right, and it goes. You'll not hurt it here at one point because it's very clean. But if someone throws on a stone,
it gets your attention immediately.
And that's why I feel about a lot of these things need some sort of error, like a human error to be perfect again. Whatever perfect is a word.
I absolutely love that. I mean, so I interviewed Yohji Yamamoto yesterday, and he was even saying that he thinks that way in his tailoring, in terms of when he wants to create garments, he hates things to be perfect.
Perfect.
Because it's too boring, and
boring.
it's very easy to make things perfect. So it's either he has to have a raw edge, or like safety pins just in random places, or just certain places distorted, or like a missing element. So I love it when designers do that, because like you said, it does add sort of an interest, and it's like uncharacteristic in a way. So I do like that,
It's a very like, I mean, humans always are looking for perfection. If you're looking at cars, it's perfect, it's this, it's perfect. Fucking boring. Just render it. Then you got a perfect render, 3D render perfect. Then you got it. You got to have the character of something going wrong. Otherwise, it's a very simple and stupid method of mine saying it. But if you think about everyone being fucking trained like this, everyone's fucking trained. You can't even tell who's not trained. Everyone's trained. It's boring. Somewhere beer belly, gotta be somewhere. Otherwise, you have no reference to anything. Right? That's my point of understanding the world.
Yeah.
If everything was perfect, you're running into an absolute dead end. Because what's perfect?
Yeah.
Perfect might be your horror.
Yeah.
Right. So.
So yeah, and I think like this also, maybe to give it context, that also translate into our clothing. I think like this, I think you can, because like normally, let's say, this is very unusual for
us.
for the brand.
Yeah.
So normally like I said, like you have like how we do clothes or you do clothes. It's more like you're draping on the body. So like in organic forms, you have like natural inspiration and stuff, which is not this.
Yeah.
But like Leon said yesterday, I think was really interesting. This like, let's say when you mention a vector line, like
what a vector is, right?
like a vector, like in the mathematics, like you have a curve, which is like kind of the line is just made out of little dots that go, and then you have like little things to connect it.
Yeah.
And Leon said, okay, if you take all the dots away, this line would just like from this curve, it would just go fully straight.
Right.
So like it's kind of like we take something away from our product, and this like it goes from like natural, like let's say,
Yeah, if you think about it, take all if you make all of this flat, all of the surfaces flat, you will probably end up with something in this way, which I've been hand producing, right? And to make it perfect, the computer should make this perfect. I could make this perfect in my 3D computer, and it's like the most amazing thing you could see because it's so perfect. How boring is that? So I decided to break it up and make the computer thing actually non-perfect. You got the polygon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is just like no, I think this was like a good point. Like and yeah, I think for the clothes, it's more like it's kind of like Leon said. It's or like I said though. The idea started really just with draping on your body, really, right? Like I think when I did the internship, Leon was the first thing he said. Like the first garment he ever made or you ever made was like just like a pair of pants, just like on a stool sitting there and just getting like a piece of toile and just like putting needles in there. So like draping on your own body.
Wow.
And this is like how everything evolved, really.
The whole knee pocket, the whole idea of this movement started.
So-
because I just started draping myself.
So yeah, it's like Leo just put a piece of clothing and then with needles here and there, like just how we feel emotionally and how like also the body. I don't know if you have like how you call this, like these bloodlines that run
veins.
The veins or something.
Yeah.
If you have like a nice vein or something, it can be an inspiration. If you have a scar here or something, it can be an inspiration.
Right.
Just like something your body makes different to other bodies.
Very important is for me was that the body's not symmetrical. So you would always think it's symmetrical. It's not. Obviously not. You probably have I don't know if you're left or right handed, your biceps might be bigger there.
Yeah.
Dropped shoulder, a little scoliosis, one left. It's like that's a normal thing. It's never symmetrical. So my idea is always to form the full body and translate that into a pattern rather than, oh, that's fine, mirror it.
Yeah.
Kind of boring.
Yeah.
So it's always this duality of things or like one full.
And I noticed that I was looking at the t-shirt you're wearing.
Yeah.
Because like where the seams meet is different
Absolutely.
to what's on that side.
The whole thing is different.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was for me a very important thing to see the body as a whole.
Right.
Rather as seeing as just a random thing that's duality.
Yeah.
It's never cut it in half and then
You don't need to.
This is, for example, like the traditional, like the first jacket you ever made.
Yeah.
So this is just self-stitched denim, like I also wear.
Yeah.
Like normally you will find this in black leather, greeny leather or something. This is like the most iconic piece. And this is like kind of, you can see really how it's like, it's really, like it's like the zipper is not even straight.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing is completely different on
If you
think
left
about
arm,
both sides.
forming right arm. So you just have an idea of what the body would be like. It's just it's not the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Because you just
wow.
how it looks and how the movement comes and your line just flows there. So for example, I would never say, all right, this looks cool, make a line here. All of these lines are just created through movement and forming rather than to. I'm actually not designing. It's just nature designing.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking at the leaf, all of this stuff, that's natural. All of this stuff is for me natural too. It's
Yeah.
the same thing.
So would you say you're rather a curator of nature rather than...
I love that.
That's actually
I love that.
Yeah, I would say like an extended version of nature. I would say I would translate what nature already has taught me, but I would run it through a program of my own mind. And probably not as perfect if we're talking about perfect.
Yeah.
Nature is quite
Yeah.
perfect in a way because it
Yeah.
always adapts. You break a bone, it becomes stronger
Stronger.
than before, and all these things. So, I mean, there's so many things to keep in mind with this. So I wouldn't say it's through my own vision of things.
Yeah.
I'd say, right?
Yeah.
So the translating of.
I remember, I read an article, I read the Metal article, and you were talking about wrapping the garment around the body and then having to create the garments, right?
Yes.
But as much as you sculpt around the uniform, you then have to start making your cuts, right?
Yeah.
So then you're curating the natural forms that are around it, which is, my perception of what you've made, basically.
It's kind of like this. So you would have a normal natural human body, and I start forming, right? And the body's moving, and all the movement and material would form these lines. It's a natural flow, right? But you would end up with, let's just say, a form of that. It's an imprint of
Yeah.
what you're doing. Right?
Yeah.
But if you're talking clothing, you need to at one point translate that into actual functioning clothing. You need to cut up the form, add things, add pieces to the pattern to create an actual garment. And that's the difference. You can at one point say we're working on the sculpture, or say we stopped working on the sculpture now we're working on clothing. So it's this intermediate part,
Yeah.
which is interesting for me, which is the same thing if I'm making artworks.
Yeah.
Like, for example, this painting has been, it was actually a painting by Robert Gibbs. It's called Thin Red Line from 1881. It's a war on Crimea, actually. So quite, how would you say, within time. And I reintroduced this in my own thought painting, but of course it's two-sided. If you go to the other side, you have a pattern on there, part of the wall that came off when I painted it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always this connection of many things and the moment in between that I'm trying to describe for the whole. It's hard for me also to describe it well, but it's this in between line of work, it's not never really finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can work on this jacket. I can work on this jacket for another 10 years. Probably never be
Finished in a way,
finished
yeah.
in a way. Like a 5 Series or an S class.
Yeah.
You're gonna work on it. Now you got
Till
this.
forever, yeah.
Oh right, they introduced Bluetooth. Boom, gotta put it in.
Yeah.
Bluetooth. If we're talking about
Yeah.
I was reading about car manufacturers in the 70s, and they were like, why do we have to put cup holders in the car? And they were absolutely against it, and it was like one of those things where they just had to listen to the consumer. And
Exactly. They just want to have a beer. They want to have a beer while driving.
It's kind of good, like, it's kind of like, I say, we don't have, like your design is stronger than the customer needs in that way.
Yeah.
Like if everyone would crave for like a pocket dedicated for an iPhone, like you wouldn't do it just because everyone craves it, because it looks shit or something. Or like these these backpacks where you could like put your headphones through or something, like these drinking backpacks. Like I mean, like it's all for the customer.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing about fashion brands. I hope in general that
And now we're gonna say
the own design is stronger than the customer.
I absolutely hate if something is useful.
Yeah.
It's so retarded. What do you need usefulness for? Look, you're buying an expensive piece of clothing to look cool.
Yeah.
You don't need something that you can wear on the K2 to travel across the fucking mountain, come from one bar to the next.
Yeah.
Get an umbrella or get a little bit wet. It doesn't matter. Go and have a pint.
Yeah.
Also,
What is it?
why? Let's say if you want something, like maybe either you decide for something. I mean, if you combine it both, it's nice. But like, I wouldn't say just because like we need to put waterproof something on everything, because it's like, I mean, like but it's true.
perfect. You're gonna go swimming or what?
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're going.
I mean,
from that place to the
there's
car.
reasons why
Yeah.
you should put
Yeah.
waterproof on specific items, and there's brands that should do it. But just like I think what you said as well, it's like this whole,
It's
let's say,
already
brands
complicated.
that just want to do like a nice piece of clothing, then
Yeah.
all of a sudden come into this mind, oh fuck, like let's do like I don't know how you call this, but like these 10,000 water, like
Yeah.
they have these scales, and like it's fully waterproof even if it rains like the whole day.
Yeah, it's so true.
Exactly. So don't overcomplicate it. This is already complicated enough, right? This topic.
I don't know what size, because like you could also just I don't know, we
Don't
should try something on or something.
I think you're my size. You should, I mean, maybe 46, but you should try this on.
And what you
We have,
yeah, I was saying what you said about the consumers is so true, because like with an iPhone, you wouldn't get an iPhone if people only listened to consumers, because it was something that we didn't know we needed. So that's another thing. Like designers can't innovate if you're only just talking to people about, yeah,
and then you, like it's I think like the like you said, like the innovation
Yeah.
is going to be going from this to this.
Yeah.
If you listen to the consumer,
It's beyond
because the
what we can
consumer
even
can
think about.
only think about things that they have the
Exactly.
vision, like that they
Exactly.
have. Let's say, yeah, if I would say, fuck, I need an iPhone, and like it should have another camera or something.
yeah,
Apple could do this,
Yeah.
but like I think it's Apple because they know what they're doing,
Yeah.
and they, I guess, have a vision that's like 3 times bigger
Than
than the
what we
consumer.
could think,
And this is
yeah.
absolutely true. I think like I mean like there's always you should always listen a bit to the consumer,
yeah,
or like have an how we call it, ear on the street or something.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
just listen. Okay, if there's small things, but I think like you should never, like you said, like just compromise your vision
Yeah.
because of something like a consumer. Especially with us, like we have. I mean, Apple has probably the biggest consumer base on earth.
Yeah.
we're a niche market, so I think like let's say if we would listen to our consumers only, this would mean that like let's say 1,000 people
yeah,
would decide what the brand would look like, you know,
Right.
and this would be like very, let's say if we have a good private customer and he wants, I mean we do sometimes 5 centimeters longer or something,
Yeah.
but like when he wants this style with like a longer back and then buttons here or something, we also say, man, like, no, like we can try to figure something out
Yeah.
for you, but it's not like you decide what to add.
Because
on this
then-
design.
because then
Like,
why-
your design is
Yeah.
it has a reason,
Yeah.
you know, why he does it, and like I think this.
because then otherwise you'll just make it yourself.
I
If
think
like,
this is
yeah,
what we also talk to, because like I mean we mostly B2B and stuff,
Right.
and like I think sometimes I think stores feel like, because they know about a lot
Yeah.
about like fashion and stuff, but like it's not their job to decide how to design a piece of garment. Either
Right.
you like it and you buy it, or you don't.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, can we do this with this style and
Yeah.
stuff, like, because otherwise, like I said, the vision gets lost a bit, and
Yeah.
I think it's a bit like it's also not disrespectful, but it's more like let the designer do this.
Yeah.
Also, like Leon or us would never say, "Fuck, you should maybe do the store design like this." You
Yeah.
know, like maybe you should add like a
because there's a
little
reason
hanging,
for why they've done
yeah,
everything
yeah.
that way.
And like
Yeah,
I think they pros in there.
Yeah.
They know how to put Leon in a spotlight, and we know how to like get the clothes that go into the spotlight.
Yeah.
So I think like it's just really kind of, I think like,
Yeah.
and you're completely right, like with this not listening only to consumers.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like otherwise we would never probably
Yeah.
have something like this.
Yeah.
If only like, people would listen to the guy that's like it's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Fuck yeah. And like just
but it's so interesting. Why? Do you know why the specific color palette? Because they're like earth tones. Even though, like for example, down there is like sort of a red-orange type of color, it still looks earthy
yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, like now that you said, like for me, I think more it's like this. What Leon said, it's like I don't know if you saw the original painting. It's like an army painting where it's like military shooting each other. I think like
Yeah,
either like I think even Ukrainians were Scottish or people or something. And this painting then inspired Leon, and also like we have to say like Leon and we have Juliana, who's also like just doing more the creative direction. So it's a team.
Yeah.
So we only speak about Leon, but like it's a team behind it as well. And yeah, so this was the inspiration for the color palette, and then we just kind of, let's say, sometimes we don't have this cheesy, you know, like, oh, this is the inspiration, and we do everything kind of like this.
Yeah.
We have an inspiration, and then we see, okay, how can we integrate it here and here and here? If it works, it's nice. But like, just because we had an inspiration doesn't mean at the end, like, everything has to be exactly how we imagined.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, this is what I mean. If a painting decides your whole collection, an inspiration, then you also go again like this. You know?
I think that happens with
It
it happens with a lot of things. Like even like me being a journalist,
Yeah.
when I'm like looking at a show to review or something, my idea of what I want to write normally changes when I'm writing it. I'm like, oh, actually, maybe it would work better this way.
Yeah.
And normally, whatever you're doing, whatever you're creating, over time, you might change your mind on what you want to do. Yeah.
That's absolutely true. Because otherwise, and that's what I mean, probably if you would, and this, I mean, you learn in school as well.
Yeah.
If you just start writing like something with a mindset, like it wouldn't be helpful to just write it like you imagined it in the first place. Like you said, like, man, if something changes, and like, let's say, if something changes within our environment or something, how we design clothing, or like how the studio is running or something, then we also have to adapt like our design or like our collection theme to it. And like it's I don't think it's very helpful to just, this is our inspiration and we have to do it like this.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, I don't know how you feel, but like also I'm not the biggest fan of this. Yeah, like these collection themes. I traveled to Ireland, saw flowers here, and then like it's been inspiration for
the whole
200 pieces. You know,
collection,
like I don't think this is how it works or should work. I think like have inspiration here and there, and then just
from all over the place and mixed into one collection. Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess like Leon is the best. Like, he gets inspired by really, like, I mean, the human body first of all.
Yeah.
But then now, I mean, it's more like, let's say, he would have got this design idea if he would have only said, fuck, I can only do organic style.
Right.
Because then he would have been like, I have to do the 3D sneaker organic again.
Yeah.
And this is what I think just really
limits.
Limits. This is word. I'm not calling it like limits your work. And I think this is what, especially in like, if you want to call it avant-garde, I don't know. It's like this. I think be very open-minded with your design. Otherwise, it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Yeah.
He said, Dammy, good questions. Dammy, tell me about some of the stuff that you learned from Leon.
Well, I learned that he's really into things that aren't postmodern. Like, I didn't say that to him, but I understood that from him, like from his conversation, whereby he quite enjoys like being able to have a play with line and form. And like in postmodernism, you have this sentiment where it's super clean, super restricted, stripped back, all of these things, but then you add only the particular details. However, when you have like the burnishes of like the 3D printed materials, or when you have like, you know, the angular nature of, you know, the garments, even though they're quite organic as well, you're able to have more characteristics within them. And it grows its own language within them as well. So it's like this almost like tree, like growing like vines. Like, I don't know whether he referenced this, but they do have this almost like leaf-like effect. Like, so each like part of the pattern is a leaf that he's probably put together and sculpted around the form, and you know, like, and that's quite like, we can say veins, but you know, leaves also have veins that, you know, grow in that way. But there are some, especially with his reference points are internal rather than external as well. So yeah, that's the inspiration that he's got. So yeah. Mr. Money.
So right now we're gonna meet Fakia, who is a guy, really cool guy. He's really into fashion, and I've known him for a few years. We've been talking on Instagram, but he's from Paris, so he's gonna give me like the insider fashion tour. Which is very important, because if I tried to find the fashion spots by myself, there's no way I would have been able to find them. So I'm really looking forward to it. What do
Yes,
you have to
sir.
say? This is our resident tour guide.
Yeah, are you in Paris? 3 years in the making.
Yes.
Welcome to Paris. Welcome to Fashion Week.
Okay guys, we're gonna end the video there because it's just about to reach the dot of 1 hour. Part 2 will be coming out in a few days. That will be more focused on different fashion spots in Paris. So if you want to see some cool fashion spots in Paris, definitely tune into that. And don't forget that if you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon, which there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. Right now, I'm about to start a fashion book club. So we're going to be going through fashion books and analyzing them. So if you're interested in that and you want to support the channel, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/fashionroadman. And I'll see you for part 2.